right, so I'd love to welcome Shellie Page today, who I had the privilege of studying our food and spirit certification together a couple of years ago now. And I wanted to speak to Shellie with this movement focus that I'm doing for this month, because Shellie has worked a lot in the fitness industry and is a perfect person to give us her insights on the various aspects of how movement affects our lives. So thank you, Shellie.
My pleasure.
If I can just get you, first of all, to basically just, tell people what you do, and also a bit of background, how did you get into the work that you do now would be great, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you for inviting me to your space to have this beautiful conversation. I love everything about fitness and movement and health, and and just adding that different modality that we both did with the food and spirit was really exciting as well. So yes, I've been in health and fitness for a very long time. I started my own sort of fitness and movement journey when I was younger. I was a gymnast, and then I went in and played a lot of different sports. I did trampolining, I did touch football, dancing, and all that sort of stuff. So I've always loved moving, and as I got older, I started to coach gymnastics. So that was my first part into the coaching scene, was coaching children gymnastics. So I did that for about 2 to 3 years. Absolutely loved it. I was a teenager at that stage, and then I went into full-time work. So I started in retail, and then I kind of went into office jobs, and I just felt like it wasn't me, like stuck in between four walls and on a computer all day. It just wasn't me. I loved to move my body. I was also going to gym at the time, absolutely loved it. I was doing Les Mills classes. That's where I first started. And then I started stepping into the weights area. So when I started to do that, I then, started to see the changes in my body. I incorporated the nutrition side of things and really started tracking and watching what I was putting into my body, and being able to make those adaptations to my body within my training as well. So this then became like bigger for me. And then I realized that there was so much more than just moving your body and eating healthy. It then came to the mind and the sleep and the, hydration. And there was just so many different parts of it that, I just really love to learn. I always love learning. So I did my personal training course, and I've done a few other courses on top of that. And also I started just in general population clients, and then I've moved into body sculpting. So I had competed in body sculpting for probably about 2 to 3 years, and then I started. I was mentored by a coach who then I started coaching other people as well eventually. So I just think that my business then grew. So from just being personal training in the gym, showing people how to use equipment, it then grew to a coaching platform. So I've got my own app, and then it came into the sports nutrition side of things, and then also working with the mind, the body, and just having those 5 main key areas of health, which then came down to including your sleep, hydration, meditation, mindset, movement, and obviously nutrition. So that's a little bit of a background of how I got to where I am today. And
So, and when you say body sculpting, is that what most people would think of as bodybuilding?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I love that different name. That's much better, isn't it? Because that's really what you're doing, is sculpting your body rather than making it necessarily ginormously big. You're trying to,
yes,
the muscles, the things that stand out. So what was it about body sculpting that particularly interested you?
Well, I guess it was just the seeing your body change and transform, and knowing that it wasn't just because of how hard you smashed yourself in the gym. It was almost like this, like you had to have all these things in place in order to, you could definitely get to whatever level you wanted by completely smashing your body. But at some point you needed to come back to the drawing board and start focusing on those different modalities that I spoke about before, incorporating them in to then be the healthiest, fittest version of yourself. So it ended up being like a whole, I guess, a whole overhaul of self, if that makes sense. And I've always been really, really interested in the mind and, you know, self-growth in that area as well. And I think when you start working on one part of your life and your body, it almost like invites you to continue to grow in those areas. And I think the difference between just training for health and lifestyle and training for a body sculpting competition, you've got an end date, you've got an end result, and there's like I said, there's a procedure that goes in place to then, you know, make sure that your body is the type that the judges are looking for, and you're working those certain areas to bring in that shape for your category. So there's so much more to it that then I guess it just becomes a challenge, and I love challenges, and, you know, continuing to move forward and learn more and develop more as a human. And I think that's exciting.
Absolutely. And so as far as, so you spoke about a little bit about the mind and that connection. So have you seen or have you experienced yourself times where people, the actual movement that they're doing, and it might be perhaps that they are challenging themselves and working toward this target end date, but what percentage of that do you think is based around their mindset and what they're doing with sculpting their mind as well as their body?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it is a challenging area for a lot of people. And I think when you start to introduce loving on yourself and, you know, looking at your body in a different perspective. So, I mean, I work with a lot of women, and, you know, I hear a lot of negative comments that women make about themselves on a regular basis. And I like to encourage them to see their body as more than just a physical image, and firstly and foremost, for them to love their body for what it does for them every single day and be grateful for what they do have, because not everybody has the ability that some people do to be able to move their bodies like they do. You know, some people need assistance with, you know, their vital functioning organs. So when you can peel back the actual physical and just focus on what your body does for you every single day and be grateful for what you do have, and then pour that love into yourself every single day, I feel like that's a really great starting point. A lot of women, I will take away a lot of women. Some women will find themselves in this space, either judging other women for the way they look or what they wear and all that sort of stuff, or they will compare. And comparison there's always that saying, comparison is the thief of joy. Now, when you're in this space of competing and bodybuilding, etc., or even just transforming your body, like people constantly looking at others going, oh, what are they doing? They look really good. And how come I'm not there? And, you know, there's always that comparison, but there's no one sort of taking that step back and going, okay, well, possibly that person has been doing this for 10 years and I've only just started my journey. Or, you know, like taking away that comparison and just being fully in the moment of what it is that you're doing, why you're doing it, and have a positive relationship with it, as opposed to doing it for negative reasons, or, you know, just to get to one place. You know, I like to, if people want to step on stage, great, that's fantastic, but let's make sure we've got that solid foundation first of loving yourself, you know, working with the mind, working with the body, understanding that food is fuel, and it's not a negative thing, and moving in that direction of lifestyle first, and then moving into something a little bit more intense, like body sculpting. And body sculpting does then have a different mindset again. It's like understanding the process takes time. You know, your body's not just going to change like that in 20 weeks. Like, I mean, you can make some massive changes in 20 weeks. But if you're looking and comparing yourself to someone who's been in the industry for and competing for 10 years, then you're on a totally different scale. You know what I mean? They've been doing this for a very long time, which means that their bodies are different, their mindsets are different, their training is different. So yeah, I think that working on your own journey and focusing on yourself and bringing it back to why it is that you're doing what you're doing and doing it for you, then I think, yeah, I think, does that answer the question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is so true for everything in life. And I personally think that, you know, the whole social media thing makes comparisons. So, you know, it's at our fingertips all the time. And that's, you know, not just with the physical body, but, you know, as a business owner, you're constantly looking at and seeing, you know, even if you're not looking for it, you're seeing, well, what is everybody else doing? How successful do they look? And, you know, I mean, it's the same, you know, probably with kids, with, you know, how they interact on social media as well. So I love that, the comparison is the thief of joy. That's so true. And, you know, it's something that we all need to be aware of. And the only person you should be comparing yourself to is yourself, and starting from that place of love and gratitude for what you have now. So true. And it also reminded me of when I did my interview with Yolanda, the yoga instructor, and she said, when she first started, that her instructor said, if you can breathe, you can do yoga, because as you alluded to, you know, so many people have different restrictions on how they can use their body.
Yeah.
And, you know, she specialises in yoga for all abilities now. So really beautiful point. So thank you. And you did bring up then the point about nutrition and food and how that comes into it. So can you maybe talk a little bit more about the relationship between food and movement?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been in this industry now for almost 8 years. And like I said, majority of my clients have been women. And what I have found over the time is that a lot of people will undereat because they think that that's the way to get the best results, and to lose the most weight and to be the leanest, and, you know, and all that sort of stuff. But what I'm finding is that there's a lot of people that are eating so less, like I'm talking under 1,000 calories a day, and wondering why their bodies aren't changing. So this is where education comes into it. And this is why I'm so passionate about sharing around nutrition and why it is so important. I mean, that under eating is definitely not beneficial to your body in any single way. You're not providing your body with quality nutrients to move and do what it is that you need to do. So if you're in like even just transforming your body, for example, your body needs protein. Protein is one of the main building blocks of the human body. So without, you know, a quality source of protein and, you know, even just nourishing your body with the right amount of protein, then your cells and everything is lacking. Your bones, your muscles, and everything is lacking. So we need to make sure first and foremost that we have a healthy amount of protein in our diets. And then for carbohydrates and fats, I mean, this can differ between many different people. I mean, some people can tolerate high amounts of carbohydrates, some people can't. And then, you know, then there's the fats that come into it as well. So I'm talking healthy fats here. So not your trans fats and, you know, those really unhealthy fats. I'm talking about your monounsaturated and your polyunsaturated fats. So it's so, when you get the matrix right, I guess, with your nutrition and what works for you, because every single person is different, then I think that's when change starts to occur and change starts to happen. Will it happen overnight? No, definitely not. But especially if you've been yo-yo dieting your whole life, you need to give yourself a chance. You need to give it time, you know, and you may see results straight away when you make those improvements and you start eating more food and you start, you know, introducing, you know, a healthy range of food, but also without restriction as well. Understanding, you know, what your body needs and giving it what it needs, as opposed to just having no idea, under eating, training. Like, some people just train so hard, but they're not fueling their body for what it is that they're wanting to achieve. So this is where injury then comes in, because there's no nourishment to, you know, to help the body recover after a training session. And you know, it just goes so big. Like, I could go on about this all day, but it is very important to make sure that you're getting and not to be scared of carbohydrates. You know, I think that's one of the biggest things, especially with women, that they think that carbohydrates make them overweight. And that is not true. And you know, you yourself know that there is an important role of carbohydrates within the diet. So like I said, each individual is different. And, you know, I'm not speaking from a medical point of view here. I'm speaking, like, I work with well people. You know, that's my scope of practice. I'm not a dietitian and I'm not a nutritionist, so I don't work with people that have, you know, let's say, challenges within their own bodies. So sports nutrition is very different to a naturopath or you know, dietitian. So they work with people with obviously more intense, different cases. So yeah, my scope of practice is very, you know, working with healthy, well people and just, you know, helping them understand their bodies and nutrition. So I always like to say, I like to, instead of just giving my clients the fish, which is a meal plan, and expecting them to follow this rigid meal plan, I like to teach them how to fish. So then they've got this skill for the rest of their life. So that's pretty much how I operate with most of my clients. Some like the rigidity, like the rigid plans. They love that. They love to start on that, and that's fine. And that's where we then sort of move towards that flexible lifestyle, because rigid is fine, but it's not going to last forever. You're going to get bored. It's, you know, and initially you will get great results, but you're going to get bored. Sticking to the same thing day in, day out, and not having any flexibility within your nutrition, you will eventually just go the opposite way. So this is where we can start like that, and then introduce flexible dieting and tracking and understanding how your body adapts to different foods. So it's tuning into that as well. I mean, you could eat something and then, you know, wonder 20 minutes later why you're feeling so bloated. This is where we go, okay, so I ate that, maybe that has caused that. Let's try it again and see if that is the determining factor here. So yeah, I think it's just educating people, helping them understand their body and how it responds to them, and working out that matrix for them that suits them.
And I think that's absolutely key. And that's the whole problem with diets, is that they don't work because they're too rigid, because people get bored, because they're too hard for people to stick to. And it's much more important to make a lifestyle change and understand exactly your individual body and how it works and what it's tolerant of and intolerant of. So that's really great advice. So thank you for that. Then you mentioned as well that one of your 5 things is sleep, and which is one of my 5 things as well that I'm always talking to people. So can you tell us a bit more about your approach to that with your clients, and also just that interrelationship again between sleep and movement?
Yeah, definitely. So I like to think of it as one of the cogs, right? So you've got 5 cogs, and if one of those aren't working, then it affects the rest of the rotation of the cog. So sleep is really important. And how I can help people understand this from my point of view is that when you're tired and you're exhausted, majority of the time you will choose high sugary foods to give you that energy to pick you up and continue to keep you going for the rest of the day. And, you know, you will grab the fastest thing. If you're tired, you haven't planned majority of the time, and then you make those bad food choices that then, you know, maybe not bad food choices, but you make those food choices that aren't going to get you the best results, you know, because if we're going for high sugary foods, we end up with the crash. We've got no motivation to train and move our body, which then brings down that other part of the cog of the wheel. So we're tired, we don't eat properly, then we don't train. Okay, so then when we're tired, we can't even think properly. So this is another cog. This is the fourth one. So we can't think properly. So therefore, majority of the time, you can't operate like you usually would. Someone will say something that would possibly not normally worry you or affect you, but because you're tired and you haven't had enough sleep, one comment can completely explode into a terrible situation. So this is, and you know, even if you are pushing yourself to train while you're tired, that's when you can cause injury, and your cortisol levels are high. You're just on that wheel, and you're just trying to do day in, day out the same thing, and you're not giving your body that chance to recover. So sleep is recovery as well. And if you're not getting adequate amounts of sleep, what I do with my clients is I try and get them to hop off and avoid any blue lights before going to bed. As we know, that can have effect to the way that our sleeping pattern works. Also trying to set a timer. Just set yourself a timer. It's bedtime. You know, your timer goes off and it's like, oh, okay, cool. Then you've got half an hour to get yourself sorted and ready and into bed, and then, you know, set yourself a timer, like a timer in the morning, which most people do anyway because they've got to get up for work. So making sure you're getting at least 7 to 8 hours of solid sleep a night. I mean, that is not my reality at the moment because I've got a 16-month-old baby. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm listening to my body. And if I'm tired, I'm not going to go and smash myself in a training session. You know, I'm going to try and do my best to choose the healthiest option of foods as opposed to the high sugary chocolate and, you know, everything that is on offer. I choose not to have that stuff in my house, so then I don't reach for that type of thing. So, and it's about nourishing and looking after your body when you are in those states of feeling, you know, completely drained, etc. Because I mean, just continually flogging yourself is not the answer, and majority of the time you're going to make no progress. So sleep is definitely so important to so many aspects of your life, not just with training, but it's your choices in nutrition, and then it comes down to how your body recovers and repairs, and heavily influenced on your mind.
Yeah, great. Yeah, sleep is how our body literally does repair itself. If we don't get into that deep, slow wave sleep, your cells are not repairing. So super important. So I'd love it if you wouldn't mind taking us through. So I guess I've got two parts to the question. Firstly, you know, your I guess regular movement routine, and it may not necessarily be a daily thing because I'm sure it changes depending on what's going on with everything else, but maybe, you know, your weekly routine, what that looks like. And then the second part is at the moment, as we're recording, we are all in lockdown because of COVID-19. And so just wondering, you know, I guess what tips you have for people in that situation and how you're managing that, and what you'd suggest that other people do to make sure they still get enough movement into their days.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, first of all, with my regular training routine, what I would do, obviously, if we weren't in lockdown, is I usually train anywhere from 5 to 6 days a week. 6 days is usually when I'm in competition prep. So not always will I get in those 6 sessions, but my 5 sessions will be a split training program. Split training program means that it's split into not individual body parts. So say I'll do a leg session on a Monday, on a Tuesday I may do a chest and shoulders session, on a Wednesday maybe back, On a Thursday will be another leg session. So I split my leg sessions from, glutes and quads and hamstrings, etc. So, and then I'll move into the arm session on, say, like a Friday. So it depends on sort of where I'm at in my training as to whether I'm going to and what shape I'm trying to build. So if I need to do some extra work on building the shape through the shoulders and the back, then I would incorporate another day on that. So it is separate and it's separated out. So my training sessions last anywhere between like an hour and a half. I try not to go any more over that. I definitely try and hit my 10,000 steps a day. So I do have a Fitbit that follows that and tracks that. And yeah, that is my routine. When I'm in comp prep, there is a little bit more cardio that is added, probably nearing the end, to get me leaner to where it is that I need to be for stage. But I do like to incorporate cardio regardless, because I think it's really important for cardiovascular health, and just in general, I just think it's a really positive thing to have in your training regime. So I'm a MetaFit instructor as well, so that's high intensity interval training, really hardcore. I was doing 3 of them a week at one stage as I was taking the sessions as well. However, I haven't done that for a while. I did my first session the other day and nearly died. So, so it is great. I love having those high intensity interval training sessions. So right now in lockdown, I'm taking my baby around the block for a walk. I'm trying to get the kids up to. Having teenagers is definitely a challenge, but I am setting them 30 minutes aside a day to do some physical activity as well, because I feel that's really important. 30 minutes is the minimum, and a maximum to 1 hour, I feel, is a really good time frame. So for majority of people, so I'll go for a nice walk in the morning, and then after my clients in the morning, I'll do a training session. So at the moment, I'm averaging probably about 3 to 4 sessions a week, just because it's a little bit harder, obviously, having the children home and not my regular routine. So I'm doing more of full body workouts and having kind of those little bit of rest days in between. So it might, one day might incorporate, like your squats and some lunges, and then some back work, and then some arms, and then the next session may be starting with legs and then moving into the chest and shoulders, and then finishing off with some abs. So it's just, I think that if you're moving your body and doing something that feels good, you're going to want to do it. So that's me, because that's what I know. But I think that people that are, have just been going to the Les Mills classes, there's so many things online right now. There's so many live virtual classes that are happening that you can jump onto and tap into, which is so super cool, because you can do it from your lounge room, and it's all body weight. And then, then there's outdoors. Like, we've still got the ability to go for a walk with a friend. So we're not completely restricted to our homes, and I think it's important that we still get out into the fresh air and in the sun and move our bodies that way. So whether it's just going for a walk with a friend, or just taking your child outside and just playing with a basketball or anything like that, I think is a really good way. You're moving your body, you're still getting that blood, the heart rate up, you're still doing something. So whatever it is, and I think right now with the kids, it's really cool to get out there and be able to do so much more with them, and run around and kick a football, or like I said, play basketball, or just create a game that you can all do together. So
yeah,
swimming is another one. Yeah,
well,
although public pools aren't open.
No. We don't want to go swimming in Melbourne so much.
Yeah, not so much. Yeah, for sure. I bet you it's freezing there.
Yeah, well, to get into, I'm sure there's heated pools, but I guess they're all closed. I don't know. It's not something I do.
Yeah,
swimming, but and so with your 10,000 steps, so you're getting that through doing whatever workout you do, plus just walking. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I mean, like I said, I've got clients in the morning, sometimes in the afternoons. I try and, go for that walk in the morning. So my walk's probably about 45 minutes to an hour. And then, I'm walking around doing stuff, cleaning the house, doing all the usual stuff that we so enjoy. And I guess that usually by the end of the day, I've hit 10,000 steps. I mean, I haven't gone for a walk this morning, but I know that I'm going for a walk this afternoon, and I know that I will hit those 10,000 steps. I mean, I'm at almost 5,000 now. So just going on that walk is definitely going to tip me over that 10,000 mark. So realistically, if you can get in an hour's walk and then just your general activity throughout the day, making sure you're getting up and you're just walking around, not sitting down in front of the television or in front of a computer for long periods of time. Get up, move your body, walk around. You will hit those 10,000 steps. It sounds like a lot, but it's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's really great for everybody to hear out there, because I think that's really true. And I think that is the risk, and that's what I've discussed with everyone else that I've spoken to about movement as well, is at the moment it's just a little bit harder to get that incidental exercise because we're not walking to and from, whatever the train station or school or whatever it is. So we do need to be a little bit more conscious about making an effort to do some more deliberate walking, I think, than we otherwise would do. So, and the online classes, so I only just found this week that my gym was doing online classes, and I was like, oh, I wish I had worked that out before now. And especially because when I put some pants on earlier in the week and I couldn't do them up, and I really did to get back to doing that. So there's so much out there, and so much that's available for free, and then there are other gyms and stuff where you can pay to do classes as well. But if you're low on income at the moment, like so many of us are, then there's so much available for free anyway, and it's just so motivating to be instructed in doing something. I find it much easier to push myself when there's somebody up the front telling me what to do than I would if it's just me telling myself. So
and that's why I think it's important to grab a friend. Like, I mean, I've put out some free workouts on my Instagram channel, and I've saved them into the highlights because they go through the stories, and you can save them into your highlights. So there is some in the highlights there that you can do from home, and it's and even if you have, like, I mean, we're allowed to have, I'm not sure what the restrictions are like in Melbourne, but we are allowed to have another person within the house, one friend. So I mean, even just, I mean, I'm sure your friend would appreciate that, and it's just great time for you to just have a bit of a talk, have a bit of a laugh, get some movement in, and just watch it, write it on a whiteboard, and then just do it. I mean, it's like 20 to half an hour max, and you do get your heart rate up, you do have a bit of a sweat, and you feel good afterwards because you've moved your body, you've got the blood pumping around your body, and it just makes you like you're so much more active throughout the day if you can set some time aside first thing in the morning to just move your body.
Yeah, I agree totally. It's the best time to do it because then you've done it, and it just sets you up for the day. Totally agree with that. Okay, so that's all been fabulous tips. And so speaking of your Instagram channel, what I'd love for you to do just before we finish is just tell everybody where they can find you. I don't know, I assume that you normally just do person to person rather than, do you normally do any online coaching or training?
Yeah, I do. So I've got an app that I have my clients on. So it's a really awesome online platform. So I can do online or face-to-face. At the moment, it's like I'm, face-to-face is obviously just in my region and one-on-one. And then there's the online platform that anyone around the world can access. So it depends on what the person is wanting to achieve. Right now, everything is home workouts. So there's definitely programs that they can tap into for home workouts. On the app too, if they're interested in any nutritional programming, I can do that, all of that through the app. I can jump on Zoom calls with my clients to check in to see where they are. They, if they feel comfortable and a physical transformation, it's what they're after. They can upload photos weekly for comparison and to see their progress as they go. And then also we can direct message each other straight through that app online platform. So it's a really, really good tool. All the workouts are videoed. You can track your workout so you can see your progress in your movement as well. And when you connect your Fitbits and they've just, the Apple Watch is now able to connect to it as well. You can actually have all your stats pop up within one platform. So it's a really, really cool space. So anyone who's feeling a little bit lost or unmotivated, definitely a cool thing to jump on. There's different, coaching programs for anyone, depending on obviously their financial situation and then also what they're wanting to achieve. My Instagram page is called HMB Collective. So if you are interested in any online type of coaching, you can direct message me through there. The app isn't actually viewable on the App Store, so I actually have to set you up from my back end, and then you get the link to have that downloaded onto your smart device. So, and then there's also my Facebook, which is also called HMB Collective. So HMB stands for Health, Mind, Body. And that's where you can find me.
Okay, great. So that's Instagram or Facebook, HMB Collective. And I'll put anywhere that I am posting this interview, I'll link to it on there so people can just click on the link. And that sounds, because I kind of hadn't really, I knew you had the app, but I hadn't really clicked that, of course, that means you can basically work with anyone anywhere. So that's great because you're in beautiful, warm North Queensland and a bit far away from where I am in Melbourne, but that's great for everybody to know that if they want to reach out to you, that's easy enough and they can work with you regardless of where they are. So that's awesome. Is there anything else that you wanted to say, Shellie, or any top tips that you'd want to leave people with before we finish the interview today?
Yeah, I guess right now it's about not being hard on yourself. It's about maybe tapping in a little bit and asking yourself what you really want and, what you need in this life right now. I think this is a perfect time to go inward while we're all in isolation and just really get clear on what you want to do, where you want to go, what it is that you want to achieve. And this is just not in health. This is in all areas of your life. I think it's a really great pause for the world at the moment. And if you can't get in what you'd normally get in, I mean, there's no point beating yourself up about it. It's just acknowledging that this time right now is different and embracing what we have. I mean, we can't do anything about it. It's about embracing it, changing things up from the norm, which is also really good for our energies. Just tapping into a different part of you and asking yourself what it is that you really want. So that would probably be my last thing that I'd love to leave everyone with, and just love on yourselves in all areas of life.
Yeah, such wise words. I think that is so true. I think, this is a message for the whole of humanity to just stop. And yes, we're talking about movement and we want people to keep moving, but I so agree that it's just giving people the space to really turn inwards to work out what's working, what's not working in their lives, and work out what the little steps are that they want to take towards the life that they want, and planning that out and starting to put things in place that they can now, so that when we get back to, I wouldn't even say get back to normal, when we get into the next phase of life at the end of this current crisis, everything will be more beautiful.
Absolutely, I agree.
Yeah, thank you so much, Shellie. I really appreciate your time.
My pleasure.
And really nice to talk to you again.